there and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Crash and you can call me Crashy. If you're not already aware, all of the Sunday videos in the month of November are bisexuality related, including this one. So if you haven't done so already, make sure that you like this video to keep me going on this bisexuality track. And subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell so that you will be notified every single time that I come out with a bisexuality related video. Haha. I got those in at the beginning of the video. I feel like a professional. So today's video is going to be addressing a comment that I received on one of my past bisexuality videos. And the comment reads, "What do you do if you didn't realize you were bisexual until after you got married and you want to try practicing it, but your husband is totally against bisexuality because of religious reasons?" So this comment really struck home to me because I have had multiple people ask me how my husband feels about me being bisexual and about how I am bisexual but also married and all of those kinds of things. So of course I can only talk about this from a heterosexual marriage standpoint, but I'm sure parts of it could definitely be applied to a homosexual marriage of any type. Though I do feel like if you are in a homosexual marriage and your spouse is against bisexuality for religious reasons, they might have some things that they need to work out, because that doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense to me. But anyways, to get into this question, I feel like there are a couple of very important points that need to be made in my answer for this question. So let's just get into them. First and foremost is that I think communication is the most important between a married couple. I think if you have any problems with your spouse, if you have any disagreements, if you have any moral things that you disagree on, or things as simple as LGBT and LGBT relationships or rights or anything like that, I think that communication is the most important thing. And I think that the first thing that you should ever do is try and have a conversation with your partner. When it comes down to it, if you're married, then the two of you should be like partners in life. You should know how the other person feels about things, and they should know how you feel about things, and you should always be working towards the two of you growing together, or the two of you having a good compromise on your opinions or on how you're going to function day to day. So first and foremost, my first piece of advice in this scenario is talk to your spouse. Talk to them about your feelings of bisexuality, of your desires, of what you'd like to do, of about their beliefs and why they're against bisexuality or why they're against you expressing your bisexuality in any way. Just communicate. See if you can talk something out through communication. But more specifically to this issue, I think something that you need to think about, I think the first thing that you really should be thinking about in the situation where you are with someone and they're against you expressing your bisexuality, either by experimenting with other people or, I don't know, having a bisexual flag in your house because of religious reasons. If you really want to experiment with other people or, you know, just practice being bisexual, I think something you really need to talk to them about are open relationships or the possibility of a threesome or something along those lines. Because if you got married to the person and both of you were agreeing and thinking that you were going to be completely monogamous for the rest of your life, and that's your marriage, and that's the main reason your spouse is against you practicing bisexuality and being with another person, then I feel like you kind of have to respect that. On the other hand, if you have talked to your partner in the past about having a polyamorous relationship or having an open relationship to any degree, or about having threesomes and they've been completely fine with that, then you can move on to the next piece of advice for you. But that's the first thing that I feel like you have to do in this situation, is have an open, honest conversation with your spouse about open relationships, about polyamory, about threesomes, anything along those lines, to see if they're even interested. If you and your spouse have talked about open relationships or polyamory, about threesomes, anything along those lines, and your spouse is for it, is very okay with the idea of having an open relationship or something like that, then the next issue potentially that you need to work out with them is why they're not okay with you experimenting with bisexuality. If they're totally okay with having an open relationship and the two of you seeing other people as well, but your spouse specifically only wants you to see people of the opposite sex or gender, then maybe that's a situation where the two of you can compromise. Maybe the two of you can agree that you will keep details about your sex lives with other people hidden or a little bit more discreet, or maybe the two of you can agree that your spouse will only be present for the situations where you're experimenting with someone of the same gender or sex, or will exclusively not be present when you're experimenting with someone else. Maybe you can come to an agreement somewhere. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's entirely possible that your spouse is just not okay with bisexuality because it goes against their religious beliefs, but I'm sure the two of you can find some way to compromise. That's what I'm really trying to say. Compromise is very important. When it comes down to it, plenty of people compromise about how they're going to roll up toothpaste or whose family they're going to spend certain holidays with. So I'm sure that you can come to some form of compromise regarding your bisexuality and your bisexual journey. And the last thing that I feel like people should consider in this situation is what is the best for them. If expressing your bisexuality, practicing bisexuality is incredibly important to you and you feel like you will not be able to live unless you are able to practice with someone of the same sex or gender, and your spouse is getting in the way of that, you need to assess what is the best for you, what is the best for your life, what is the best for your situation. I'm not an advocate of divorce or separation or anything like that. I feel like if you've made a commitment to someone and they haven't done anything incredibly horrible, or if you're not incredibly unhappy with them, then you should try and make it work as best you can by going to counseling or just by talking with the other person or having some form of extra communication and maybe trying to fix a problem. However, if the inability to practice your bisexuality is something that is going to make you horribly upset or depressed, or if it's something that you feel is going to affect your life negatively, then you really need to look at what your options are. Do you need to leave your spouse, for example? Or do you need to separate from them for a little while so that you can experiment with other people, so you can practice your bisexuality with other people? Or is it something that the two of you can come to a compromise on? Ideally, it's something you can compromise on, or at least that you can understand their situation of them wanting to be monogamous and you accepting that fact and finding other ways to express it without practicing with other people. As far as this goes in my own life, I guess it's a little bit different because I've known that I was bisexual for almost 10 years now, about 10 years now. And my husband and I talked about my bisexuality long before we ever got married. We talked about how I express my bisexuality and the kinds of relationships I've had in the past and the potential of what kinds of relationships either of us would have in the future with ourselves, with others, all of that. We know exactly where we stand for all of the scenarios. So for anyone who isn't married and who is thinking about it and they're bisexual, for anyone who just isn't married but doesn't know how it's gonna happen, something I want to recommend is to have every conversation about every possible change in your relationship that you can possibly think of with your partner before you get married. Talk to your partner and see how they feel about LGBT issues, about how they feel about the possibility of an open relationship in the future, how they feel about owning a cat. Just everything you can think of, make sure you have a conversation with your partner about that before you get married. I definitely recommend conversations and communication. Lots of communication. Always communicate. 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 But I feel like that's all that I really have to say on this topic for now. If you have any questions for me or you want to hear my opinion on anything else, please leave questions down in the comment area and I will try and get back to you, or maybe somebody else can get back to you. We'll see. I hope this helped at all. Maybe my advice isn't the best. I don't know. Let me know if you think that this was good advice down in the comments, because this is how I feel, but I recognize that other people may have completely different opinions, and so I'd like to hear those opinions. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for coming back to see another one of my videos, and if this is the first video of mine that you've seen, make sure that you like it if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to me and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I make new videos, which is every Wednesday and Sunday. Also, make sure to head on over to my Instagram at callmecrashy. I'm posting daily pictures on my Instagram right now, and I'm actually really happy with how they look, so you should go look at those. Okay. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the internet. Tschüssi!